Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Mad Fate, a Hong Kong thriller from 2023 that was directed by Soi Cheang. It stars Gordon Lam. The following plot synopsis was taken from the Arty Dans. This movie is an interesting tale of a handful of intertwined characters. While hoping to stop the murder of his client, a fortune teller, played by Gordon Lam, arrives at her apartment too late. Also at the apartment is a delivery boy who is experiencing a strange rush of excitement at the sight of her dead body. The killer has escaped to the delivery boy's parents' noodle shop where he hides the tools he used to kill the woman, while the police detective, who's determined to find the killer, realizes that he has a history with the delivery boy as well. Sensing that fate will not be kind to him, the fortune teller decides to help the delivery boy change his future, but it tests his fragile sanity. Now, funnily enough, I recently purchased the Blu-ray of this movie because I'm a fan of this director and I wanted to watch it. Unfortunately, I misread the description and later realized that this version that I bought had Chinese subtitles only, no English. That's alright though. I've been down this path plenty of times in the past. And I've mentioned this multiple times on this channel. It's easier to process a movie without subtitles when it's a genre film, like horror, action, or thriller. Now, Mad Fate is a thriller, which made it easier to understand since much of the storytelling is visual. But I had to give that disclaimer before I review this. In any case, Gordon Lam's character performs a dangerous ritual at the very beginning of the film. It's raining hard outside, he's burning items in a bowl, and all of this while his client is suffocating under a plastic sheet that he placed over her while setting things up. And she barely survives. She becomes angry with him, justifiably. She goes back to her apartment, but he quickly realizes that her life may be in danger. And this opening scene, it's almost like a fortune-telling superstition ritual scene, transitions into a thriller sequence, the opening thriller scene as well. And all of the main characters are nearby this woman when she's murdered, but certain fateful circumstances result in her death. And you can definitely see where the filmmakers were going with this, just from this opening 15 minutes. You know, there are a handful of poorly fated events that had to transpire for this woman to die, and that's what happened. She had bad luck. You know what I mean? It does a nice job of communicating this visually as well. So the question remains for the rest of the film: will the delivery boy fall prey to a similar bad fate? And in terms of the characters, you have this, fortune teller and the delivery boy, and they both have a screw loose, mentally speaking. They're just kind of weird, a little awkward. The boy actually, plays in the woman's blood after she dies. He's dancing in her blood and stuff. It's kind of odd, man. Definitely an unhinged dude, and he's being projected by the filmmakers to not only be capable of killing, but also be addicted to violence or the scene and visuals of violence. But will he go all the way and commit murder? And that's your whole premise, right? And then you have this nutty psychological disturbed fortune teller who's almost as crazy as the guy he's trying to help, and he's trying to change his fate, so to speak. And much of the film consists of back and forth between these two characters, with Gordon Lam attempting to use superstitious elements to redirect the delivery boy's life. It's executed pretty well, and it provides an unusual foundation for a movie that feels refreshingly different from a lot of stuff that comes out today. On the other hand, though, I do think, and this is important, the lack of relatability for these two protagonists could be a problem for some viewers who prefer to follow more normal people in a film. You know what I mean? And that will be, I personally enjoyed it, but that could be the most important aspect of Mad Fate that you will need to assess before you decide whether or not you want to watch it or skip it. You know what I mean? This is just as much of a character interaction film as it is a thriller as well. In fact, the main killer from the opening scene, there's a bad guy who kills a woman and then escapes. He's absent for huge chunks of the film, and you realize that the filmmakers are not really focusing that much on this villain. he basically exists to throw the film into chaos and provide the delivery boy with a possible path for his fate. But it is pretty interesting. Now remember, Soi Cheang did direct this, okay? So there are a few good thrills and violent confrontations. It's stylishly shot with moments of bloody violence. But it's still highly unconventional in that regard due to the premise focusing on our two leads instead of the villain for much of the runtime. And the climax is not quite what you might expect, but I'll leave it at that. Now, one other observation is that there are a few brief bits of CGI effects for animals, which are a little bit distracting. You know, they use some digital effects for cats, where one animal that sticks out. A little bit odd, but I guess they didn't want to use real cats and try to train them to do certain things. It probably would have been a pain in the butt. So you could kind of understand it. Not a big deal, but it is something you will notice. Also, after finishing this film for the first time, I did compare it with some of this director's prior thrillers. Even recently, I still think I prefer Limbo from 2021 over this. I think it's a more thrilling film. The reason could also be the intensity level of Limbo is higher, and the climactic finale of that film provided a bigger punch to finish the film off. But I still enjoyed Mad Fate. I think it's a good film, and I do recommend it. It's currently available on Blu-ray without English subtitles, but look out for it. I have to assume that an English-friendly release, even if it's just on digital, will happen at some point in the near future. If you've seen this one, let me know what you think, though. And as always, I'll see you next time.